What's good, y'all? I've got some huge buffs for all three Hitmons. I'm only showing two on screen right now, but I mean, if you're curious, you can always just check out the Google Sheet and look at everything at your own pace. I just don't have the space to share them all at once. I didn't feel like zooming out. But yeah, huge buffs for all three. Especially Hitmonchan, who was obviously by far the worst of the three, as we all know. But of course, all three have awesome new traits and tools and synergy with their new moves and abilities and all this fun stuff. But if you are a new viewer here and this is your first impression of the hack, I highly recommend you check out that Google Sheet linked right down below in the description, because there are dozens of custom new abilities, and every single Pokemon is really massively reworked. And most importantly, you can check out all 600 plus move buffs and changes. Those are really, really important to understand how the Pokemon function now. And I really mean it. Like, it's really important. And if you look on screen right now, it took me a lot of time and effort to make this move sheet. You can click these categories. It'll automatically direct you to what all these new moves do. And there's literally so many of them, 600 plus, not an exaggeration. So give that a look. Bookmark the sheet if you like it. Subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. With that being said, though, I'm going to cover Hitmonchan first because he's the most reworked out of the three. Hitmonchan, all of them share a same stat trend, by the way. I'll cover that first, but yeah, they all have the same HP and SPDF stat, which is actually changed from the previous renditions of them in the older video. I dropped their SPDF, but now they all have the same SPDF stat. They alternate between 5 speed, 10 base defense, and 10 base attack. That's the main difference. So basically, Hitmontop has the least attack of the three, but he also has the most defense, and is also the slowest. Hitmonchan is in the middle, and then Hitmonlee is well, actually Hitmonchan is the fastest, but Hitmonlee is the frailest of the three, and the strongest physically attack-wise. Of course, their abilities and stuff make a huge difference. All three of them are very equal. Hitmonchan is probably the most fun because he has a really cool new ability called Rapid Fire, which typically gives the Pokemon that shoot things out of like cannons or whatever. Like here, I'll show it on screen. If I click the link, it'll take you right to it. However, this is kind of a pun on the name Rapid Fire, right? Because the Pokedex talks all about Hitmonchan is this boxer, and he punches super quickly. He punches like it's impossible to see how fast he punches. That's like his whole thing, right? He's just so quick at punching. So I thought, you know what? Let's make this a little pun. It also helps him stand out from the other pure fighting types, which there are still about 8 of, and they all have very steep competition between one another. And I felt like any ability I gave Hitmonchan was just like kind of like, I don't know, he was just kind of boring, but this makes him way, way cooler. So he has signature moves. So typically Rapid Fire is an ability that gives you +3 priority to moves that hit 3 or more times. So you do have moves that do that. You have Dizzy Punches, which I recently changed to hit 3 times as opposed to twice. So that is a overall 90 base power now, psychic type move. That's really nice, physical, coverage. And then Pummel and Comet Punch. Those are your only main actual legitimate Rapid Fire options. Those 3 are good enough. Pummel is, fighting type Bullet Seed, and then you have Combat Punch, which is fairy type. So you've got fighting and then fairy and psychic coverage, which is good for a fighting type. And those are all priority, right? So worst case, Pummel is a Mach Punch, slightly stronger Mach Punch that hits twice, bypasses Focus Sash, bypasses 30, bypasses Chapel Berry, and whatnot. So that's the worst case. So that's only if you hit twice. If you hit more than twice, now you're going crazy. Loaded Dice does not exist in this hack. I can't code something like that in, sadly. Otherwise, I maybe would, but I would probably have to nerf the power of multi-hit moves a lot if I did, because they would all be pretty broken with the with any Pokemon really, let alone the Technician guys. And oh my god, the Rapid Fire guys would be crazy. But yeah, Pummel, Comet Punch, Dizzy Punches, and then you have 2 signature moves. So essentially, I can apply this, priority Rapid Fire effect. It comes from Triage, by the way, if you're curious. I can apply that to other moves. So Sky Uppercut and Knockout Punch are really cool in that sense. Sky Uppercut is just 100 base power, 95% accurate. So that's the only drawback. And then it has a, I believe, 25% chance to flinch. So let me actually triple check. I'm pretty sure it's 25, which is good for a priority move. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Very spammable off of 120 base attack. Yeah, 25% chance to punch. And then Knockout Punch is a move you learn even later. Knockout Punch is 80% accurate, which is one of the least accurate moves in the game. Most moves in this hack are 100% accurate, and then the only inaccurate moves are like 95 to 85, with 85 being like very strong moves, typically, like 120 plus base power moves. However, Knockout Punch is, of course, 130 base power, 80% accurate, but the main kick to Knockout Punch is that it makes the opponent drowsy, right? My logic there is like, it's such a strong punch that it kind of knocks them out, it makes them drowsy, they pass out the next turn. So yeah, it basically makes them drowsy like Yawn does. So that's a really sick move. Obviously that's very late in the game, level 60. You will have that for the majority of, maybe not the majority, but the vast majority of Pony Island. You'll have that for everything like around Totem Komodo and up forward. So that's a really good option. for Hitmonchan. Your other ability is Proficiency, which functions like Beast Boost, so you can get a speed or attack boost depending on your IV's nature and EV spread. EV spreads can easily be customized in this ROM hack, as you can read in the little evolution method thing there. That's so you can actually choose what Tyrogue evolution you want. It used to be some weird scuffed ass like Focus Sash, Muscle Band type evolution, but I figured just keep it the way it used to be and change his stats a little bit more. That's why his defense is so high. It's a bit weird, but it's like it's the only way I can make it reasonable to choose which one you all want to evolve into in most cases. And obviously in some cases you actually won't be able to choose because of your IVs in nature. Depends on your specific Tyrogue. But in most cases you'll be able to pick because you do have the wings. So you have infinite EV training items. The wings give 4, and then the proteins give 128. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, proficiency. Pretty good ability, obviously. It's just Moxie, but better. It gives you plus speed if you want, so you can use like Swords Dance or Bulk Up with proficiency. Keep in mind that there are a lot of strong-ass priority attacks in this game that will completely demolish any fast setup sweeper, including Hitmonchan, so that's something you have to keep in mind. I would say Rapid Fire is better for a lot of boss fights, but proficiency is still good. My point is you're not going to 6-0 the trainer with proficiency, but you can definitely kill a couple Pokemon with it, which is good. You can snowball a little bit. You also have ways to boost your speed in the form of like agility or a choice scarf plus proficiency, for like a little bit of a cleaner. So in general, he's solid. He also has good bulk overall. I mean, 70, 85, 110 is not bad at all. So that's Hitmonchan for you, all right? Really, really sick. Hitmonlee is the least changed of the 3, so I'm going to cover him last, but what I will quickly say is that Unburden is massively buffed in this hack because, well, first of all, there's a lot more recoil moves, so that's a buff for Reckless, and then Unburden is heavily buffed in the sense that it, Quick Claw, right? Quick Claw is a single-use consumable item now, so Quick Claw Hitmonlee plus Swords Dance plus 2 speed plus 2 special attack instantly. Boom. You're big chillin'. He does have the same exact attack stat and speed stat as Pessimian, which is a bit of a shame. Like that's a little bit too overlapping, but it's fighting types are also samey. It's kind of hard. So they both share Unburden, and then Hitmonlee has Reckless, so it actually makes him stronger. While while Pessimian has Headstrong, which makes recoil prevented. But obviously, you can always just run Reckless plus Wide Lens with High Jump Kick or Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb being Fly type High Jump Kick. Also, I guess I am covering Hitmonlee now since whatever. I just felt like talking about him for first. Hitmonlee. Yeah, Dive Bomb, Flying type of Jump Kick, regular old high Jump Kick, both 130 base power with Wide Lens. Those will never miss. That's really not. Then now it's risk free, excuse me, in a Hardcore Nuzlocke. So that's pretty great. And then of course Unburden is like Unga Bunga Sweep. Really easy to set up with that Quick Claw. And you can always use other stuff like Focus Sash or Reversal, Endure Reversal. Lychee Berry is a viable one for sure. You get +1 attack, +2 speed, and you have 200 base power reversal. That's pretty damn strong. That'd be pretty good for like Olivia potentially. Depends on the boss fight and your other teammates and all that stuff, and how smart you are at like planning out the turns in the boss fight, and if you're even playing blind or not, which I would highly not recommend playing blind, especially if you're Nuzlocking. That would not do that at all. Yeah, so that's Hitmonlee. Other recoil moves: Submission, 150 base power, functions like close combat, and a recoil move in one. Keep in mind that Shell Bell is also buffed to heal you by, if you click here, it heals you by 20%, so that's pretty cool. There's a bunch of other Holiday on buffs and changes you can check out in the description below. But yeah, here are all the recoil moves you get. Did I not get Double Edge on evolution? I feel like I did. Hold on. I feel like I did. If I didn't, I should. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. But yeah, you get Double Edge on upon evolution, which is just a strong 150 base power normal type move for that point in the game. Then you'll eventually delete it, obviously. You get Rock Climb, Takedown, Play Rev, Wild Charge, which are all 132 base power, and with the Shell Bell, those will deal 0% recoil damage. And then Dive Bomb, High Jump Kick will never miss with Wide Lens, so those are also risk-free with an item. So my point is you can kind of negate the downsides of these moves with an item, which is pretty cool. And then Submission will still deal 10% recoil and lower your defenses, which is really risky in a Hardcore Nuzlocke. It means you have to switch out, but it's not like it's a bad move. You can always just switch the hell out and kill something with that 180 base power Submission. With Reckless, it's 180 base power, so that's really fun. That's Hitmonlee. Very simple buffs out of the 3. The other 2 basically didn't get any ability changes, which is pretty rare for this hack, actually. Most Pokemon have their abilities pretty reworked, but turns out their abilities actually combine very well in terms of, like, how they function with one another, because keep in mind I do balance all Pokemon to be used with that infinite use ability capsule, so you switch between your abilities at will to make the most out of your Pokemon. But with Hitmontop, you've got Technician and Intimidate. Intimidate is very straightforward, very good. You're very bulky, 70, 95, 110. You also get access to Timeout, which is fighting type recover move. as Tyrogue, so that's really good for bulkier Hitmontop sets with Intimidate. You also get Parting Shot, which is really useful with Intimidate. I mean, it's useful in all three, but especially with Intimidate on Hitmontop, and then Battle Cry. So he's by far the best for defensive utility. It's not even close. Like the bulkiest, and he has great utility abilities. Keep in mind that there are a bunch of new moves in this hack that will always crit, so Intimidate isn't nearly as oppressive as it used to be, but it's still a great ability nonetheless. It really helps with dealing with all of the offensive crap that you're gonna have to deal with in the hack. And of course you have Assault Vest for special attackers, so it's pretty equal. And there's tons of new moves that drop both attack and special attack. So yeah, like in this case, for example, you have Skirmish, which would be really good on Hitmontop with Intimidate as well. And then your other ability, Technician, is very strong. You have tons of options. You have priority in the form of Knock Punch, of course, as well as Bullet Punch. And then First Impression is now 60 base power, but it always crits. So that's also Technician boosted up to 135 base power with the crit in mind. This is looping now, so I'm at 10 minutes. Double Kick is now 35 base power per hit, so with Technician that's 105 overall. That's a really strong move at level 36 to have. It also hits twice, so it bypasses, you know, multi-hit moves. They bypass common like stuff like Focus Sash and Sturdy and Multi-Scale and all that stuff on the AI. So that's really good to have. Pummel is, like I already covered, Fighting Type Bullet Seed, that's great with Technician. And then Rolling Kick is huge with Technician. Rolling Kick gives you +1 speed and is 90 base power with Technician. That's huge, and there's no drawbacks, right? Flame Wheel is the exact same thing, but it's of course only it's not stab, it's fire type. But Flame Wheel is pretty good for that point in the game. It's very good. So you can use Flame Wheel for a while, and of course eventually you might want to use Rolling Kick. You also get Finishing Blow, which gives you +3 attack, excuse me, when you kill something with it. So you can use Rolling Kick plus Finishing Blow with Technician and go to town there. It's also not a weak move at all. Finishing Blow plus Technician is 80 base power overall, so that's actually really strong. It's like a good bug type coverage move. It's not like it's weak or anything. It's slightly weaker than Lunge, but yeah, Lunge of course drops defense all the time and is reteachable, while Finishing Blow is not. So I'm not trying to say it's better or anything, but it is a good option nonetheless. And then lastly, for Technician, there's a couple other moves which I'll talk about via TM and Tutor, but the most important one that's really strong late game, you know, they all get like really strong level 60 moves, is Triple Kick on Hitmontop. Triple Kick is essentially functions like Triple Axle now. Sadly, I can't make Triple Axle, but it is really good for Hitmontop. It's Stab, Technician boosted. There are a couple other Technician fighting type Pokemon that have Triple Kick, I believe Breloom and a couple others, but it's still really good on Hitmontop nonetheless. It's over 200 base power if you hit all 3 hits, and if you run a Wide Lens, you're guaranteed to hit all 3 hits. So Wide Lens, Triple Kick, very, very, very powerful option. And again, that also bypasses common things like you know, that will stop you from killing things like Chopper Berry and Focus Sash. So that's really awesome. Acrobatics is 75 base power. Sorry, 82.5 base power with Technician. Of course, that's also good on Hitmonlee with Unburden. Knockoff, always 90 base power with Technician now because it's 60 base power. Covet, 90 base power fairy type option on Hitmontop with Technician. Rock Tomb Bulldoze, you know, that's really about it. Grass Knot and Low Kick are also technically Technician boosted under certain situations. Yeah, I think I covered all of them pretty thoroughly. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to try to leave it off there because this video is dragging on a bit because I did have to cover all of them. Tyrogue, solid stats, Defiant, Scrappy, good abilities. Scrappy, really situational, but could be useful. Very, very situationally early game. Of course, if you need to hit a dark type, a ghost type, you can always just run a dark type move because this is not competitive. You don't have to hit a ghost type in on the switch. But Defiant is nice for early game because of all the stat dropping moves. There are tons of new ones that exist. So yeah, getting that +3 to attack when you switch in on like any of the dozens of moves is really nice. I'll leave the video out there though. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll be back for more buffs and changes coming up. Peace, y'all.